Welcome back, everyone. This is Tak Oda, CIO of Attaché for Business, joined by our CEO, Lesa Hammond. What are we talking about this week, Lisa?
So, Talk, I had a really interesting conversation, and I've had it a couple different times. So, I think this is something that's a good one to talk about. So, there's an employee who was terminated for cause for really good reason.
Mm,
And, obviously, the company is not going to tell all their employees why this person was terminated, but it was somebody who was well liked. And the employees were up in arms, and the person's bad mouthing the company and saying they were forced to quit because they were saying negative things about the CEO and others in the
mm,
company who were in management. So the employees are up in arms, but this person was terminated for a very good reason.
mm. That sounds really tricky. I'm dying to hear what you said to do.
Well, it is tricky because you don't want to badmouth the employee. You really
Mhm,
can't. That
mhm,
not only ruins your reputation, it could end up being considered, a slander libel situation, or it could just be, bad employee relations because the employees don't want to hear that you're saying negative things about other employees, even if they have the wrong story, because then they feel like you're going to say negative things about them. So there are a few things that you can do.
Okay.
And I'd love to hear what you think about these too. So one is, just saying, yeah, you can say the person was terminated for cause, and you can say that, what they're saying isn't true. Well, nobody's going to really believe that if they really are believing the employee side, right?
Hmm.
The other is that this is kind of tricky, but you don't want anybody in management saying anything. But usually there are some people who are involved in it that aren't part of management, aren't part of HR, that could say, that are trusted, that say, I know what really happened, and this person was terminated for a really good reason, and it wasn't what they're saying. And
Mm,
employees will tend more to believe that.
right.
And the other thing you could do, which is one that I would lean toward, is actually talking to the employees who are up in arms and trying to be as honest with them as possible and say, we can't tell you why this person was terminated, but and it wouldn't be appropriate because if you were terminated, you wouldn't want us to say why you were. But what we can tell you is what they're saying is not true.
Mm,
And and then let them ask questions and go through whatever it is they have and try to build trust that way as opposed to ignoring it, which you can do, let it ride out, but usually
right.
that leaves a kind of a bad feeling.
Right. Yeah. Well, I really love this question, partly because it doesn't seem like any of the answers are perfect.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like any of them are surefire.
No,
And it probably depends on the context. And
no.
I'm glad you're acknowledging that this isn't an easy one.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and that is so true. I mean, one of the things I always tell people that is in as a manager, in management, in HR, there is no one right answer. And sometimes there is no right answer. There is
Mhm.
no, best answer because nothing you do is not going to create people second guessing what you did.
Right. Yeah.
And this is probably one of those situations where whatever you do, it's going to be second guessed.
Right. Right. Yeah. And it just makes you suspicious of anyone who claims to have a perfect answer for something relating to HR. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
all right. So our the moral of this story is like, just try to stick to your values, I think, and do what feels like your integrity with yourself, and just some things you just can't control, but do your best, I guess.
Yeah, and I always feel like communication is the best thing to do. And the more as if you're communicating all along and build that trust in the beginning, then when situations like this come up, the trust is already built and you're
Uh,
more likely to be trusted. If
Right.
you all of a sudden start communicating because of something like this, then nobody's going to trust it anyway.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Great advice. Yeah, it's unfortunately it's not the sort of advice you can take advantage of after the fact, but
Right.
it's a preemptive step for everybody.
Absolutely. And it's a preemptive step for many, many things. So,
Yeah.
communication is the key. The more you communicate, the better you communicate, the more honestly you communicate
Mhm.
is, that's what's going to make the difference when there are these really tough things that have to happen.
All right.
And they will come up.
Great. Yeah, word to the wise. Thanks, Lisa, and thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you took away something of value here, even though it's not a straight answer necessarily. So again, Lisa, thanks for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thanks, Tak. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, and remember, like and subscribe. See you next time.
Till next time.